Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Dave Noodles. We are on the Type 88 show. Today, we have a special guest with us. This gentleman has traveled the world and the country, just helping people find their purpose, shining positive light. This young man, I met him at a concert over about a decade ago, and as someone who I haven't seen that much in person, he has been one of the most supportive people to me, the brand, and we've constantly just stayed in touch and supported each other's journeys. And his creations have just caught my eye on a daily basis. So it was only right to get him here with us today. So I just want to welcome my homie Jay Dritto to the building. What up, man?
What's up, man? Thank you very much. Yeah, man, it's been a decade. It's been crazy since we met in the crowd. It's wild. I'm happy to be here. Very honored to be here. Thank you for throwing me in. Thank you for taking the time to have me here. And yeah, it's been wild. I value you as one of those friends that we might not see physically all the time, but we're always supporting the grind. We're always supporting the push and what we want to do. And I really love that. And I'm just honored to have friends like that. So thank you again. And it's crazy. Like we were talking about, it comes full circle and now we're here.
Yeah, man. And, shout out to your cousin as well. You two gentlemen are two people that I met at I think it was Izu
I think it was.
or the Daisy or whatever, and who I still am. We're part of each other's journeys. We've intersected many times. We've had some memorable evenings, and we've supported each other, and here we are. So it's just really dope. And I was actually going through my Google Photos because it saves like every photo, and I was trying to find if we took a photo from that day, but it was 8 years ago to be exact, because I found my outfit, what I was wearing and everything. I was like, let me pull this up, and but we didn't take a photo. But that was so cool about it because you're one person. When you connect with someone, sometimes you're thinking about, oh, let me take a photo, but we were just so caught up just learning about each other, and like even in that moment we were supporting each other. So it's just dope that things haven't changed.
Yeah. Yeah, things haven't changed, and it was because that was the year. I think that was the year I left for Colorado, like just shortly after that. So I was having like a little last hurrah with the Cuzzo at yeah, I think it was Electric Daisy Carnival. We're just maxing in the crowd doing that, and we're like enjoying the set, but talking about like motivational quotes and stuff like that, and it was really cool. I remember that.
So it's just been dope I'm fortunate to have one of my man Jay Dritto's early creations, and this was before the price went up, as people would say. I remember I traded you like 5 hoodies, and you gave me like 5 custom wraps, like.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? I still have one of them got lost in the shuffle, but I still have most of them. They're all at my office right now. But yo, I'm happy I got some pieces and some new pieces. But for anyone
Yes.
that doesn't know, like maybe we could talk about how you kind of found your gift, because when I see these things, bro, like they're a gift to the person that gets them. But how did you even find your gift to then share it with others so they could share it as a gift and give it to themselves or friends or whatever it was, man? Like how'd you even
Yeah.
discover your gift?
It was a crazy ride to I've always been a creative person in my life. But I think it just falls back to where I was like, my nature was so nurtured by like the New York way of just like get a good job, get through the college, do all this stuff, and like artists are poor kind of thing. So I never really went for my creative endeavors, but I always knew when I would create things, it was like what I felt in my heart. And I just loved that. And I think it was in like 2011. I went to a festival and I was selling was selling gemstones and doing things like that. And someone was like, oh, you should make jewelry. And I was like, I don't know if I would really like that. And then like flash forward a couple months, and I tried it and I loved it. It was a self-expression, I think, of my culture, being Arabic, and being able to like express that flow into something. But also it was just like, it was something that like, it just clicked, and I felt in tune with it, and I ran with it. And a lot of people were like, oh, you're just going to make jewelry now. And I just kept with it. And that was, and I'm grateful for people like you, because I still have that hat, the snake skin. It's a snake skin with the black and white American flag on it. I still got that baddie tucked away.
Nice.
But it was more, I think, of me like fully connecting with my truest self. And I felt like as I went through school and as I went through a lot of things, I was different. So I tried to like chameleon and mold to people. And I felt like art was the way that I could like release that and just get back to my truest self of doing that. So it was a rough road at first of learning a lot of stuff. That time in the industry, a lot of artists had like a big ego, so they weren't really sharing techniques. So I would like sit there on Instagram and like study people's pictures and then try it on my own. But it is, and I think every year I go back to reflect, and I go back to love all the people like you who have appreciated my art since the beginning. But finding that gift was just me like falling into my truest self and like surrendering to that and being like, well, what else am I going to do? And then finally, throughout all those years and like moving to Colorado, moving away, I think I was away from everything. So I just like was able to tune in. And then in 2016, I was like, I'm thinking about art every time I'm at work. I'm thinking about it every time I do all this other stuff. What's the worst that happens? I go back to my day job. So I left everything. I left my good job at FedEx. I left everything I was doing and just pushed it into that. And I'm thankful for that leap, because it was the scariest thing I ever did. But now I'm here, and I'm humbly and thankfully selling pieces that I never thought I would sell, or let alone not even the monetary value. I never thought I would even create something like that. So I think it was the biggest thing of personal development for myself. And it's crazy how you could like create personal development through creation. And then that just pushed me, and then this whole art thing just pushed me into where I am now with like coaching and motivating and just and pushing that more forward. And it's just like living through both of the things of like the gift and the purpose.
That's amazing, man. Yeah, because I know anyone that does anything, you start, and we look back now and are like, oh, wow, like time flies. But like, I know in the beginning, nothing's easy. Like, and I know as someone who started a brand, I wanted Method Man to rock it. I wanted Redman to do something with Redman, right? And these were just like things you hope for. But I had no respect 13 years ago. Like that wasn't. Yeah. That was just like something I would write on my wall, like, oh, give it a Method Man, and like now, grateful that these are things that have happened, but like maybe talk about maybe the beginning where like maybe you ran into the wall, or, you tripped a few times, metaphorically speaking, or even just in real life. Like maybe you could kind of talk about failure and how you faced it and what that journey was like too. Cause I know that in itself, the whole starting, you don't know what you're doing. You were dealing with a learning curve. You may or may not make sales. Like maybe talk about how that early journey, because you've been doing this for almost a decade or so with the business.
It's been almost a decade now, and the journey is it's a tough one. No wonder why a lot of people give up in a lot of these situations, because it's probably the most rewarding, but also the hardest thing we could ever do in life. And I mean, to even touch on it, like being able to have someone like you with that brand that was just like, don't stop dreaming. And then I see you just like grinding every day. It's also not just like the internal push, but it's the relationships you make and the people you surround yourself that also have this dream that help you get through that. So outside of that, when you're home alone, grinding in the basement for stuff you feel, it gets hard because there got a time where I wasn't able to buy wire, so I have to go find appliances to strip copper wire from to make a piece so I could sell it to buy some more copper to then build up enough copper to do that. But it was really hard. It was hard going from being an employee to an employer of like a self-employer. And the hardest thing was breaking having that set paycheck every week versus like taking a month to have to get this big amount of money up and like have to pay rent at the end of it. And I think that's the scariest leap that we have to take. But I feel like when I was working a job, I was doing myself a disservice because I wasn't giving myself the 100% dedication that it takes in the beginning. I mean, it takes dedication throughout the whole process, but in the beginning, it takes a lot of balls and guts to do it day in and day out. And you have to forget about how much you're getting paid because you're working 14 hours a day for your dream. But when you make that one sale, it feels like you just made $1,000. And it's crazy going through that because like pushing through these failures, I think is the biggest leap that we can make in the form of like, I feel like in this country and in this world, we are really suffering from mental health, self-love. For me, a big thing of art was to love myself again and to love myself through creation. So then when I put myself in a situation where I was like skipping meals to buy gems, I was like, what the hell am I doing? Am I doing the right thing? Like, but I think it's just the biggest thing that I could ever say is growing up. I mean, for me, it's like, you know, I'm 34. Growing up, we learn all these cliches of like, follow your gut. Your first instinct is always the right question on the test. And I think I really just held on to that because I knew that like my parents wouldn't steer me in the wrong direction. So I was like, okay, follow my gut. If I'm feeling this, I need to do it. And the biggest part about failure was it taught me a lot about humility, taught me a lot about surrendering and vulnerability. When I got tired and I was getting burnt out from working 14 hours on my craft and like stripping things to get metal and like skipping meals to do this, it wasn't conducive to me at doing this as an endurance race. That was like good for a sprint, but it took time for me to reach out to my parents and say like, hey, I need to borrow a couple bucks because this is what I'm passionate about. And I think I never did that because I like held this lack of self-love and this shame of like, you know, I didn't have a real job, but I was just trying to like make it, but this is what I love to do. And when your parents tell you like, just find something you love to do, but they also tell you like, do something that's stable. And then you choose art. You're like,
yeah. I have a lot of friends. Yeah, I have a lot of friends whose parents are Egyptian. And the culture is stern about making the dream happen here, and you know, becoming a nurse or a doctor. So yeah, no, keep going though. Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, and for me, it taught me a lot to embrace that vulnerability and to ask for help, to ask questions. Maybe if there was something I needed to learn from another artist, to reach out and say, hey, how can I, like, do you teach this? Can I pick your brain for a minute? And yeah, a lot of people will say no, but I think that's the biggest thing. Like in the beginning, if you could learn to embrace those no's, embrace that failure. And for me, it was like not having another job to go to. It made me dive deeper and it made me step back. And instead of burning up in flames and being like, yo, I'm going downhill, I'm not making money, I'm not doing this, it allowed me to evolve. It allowed me to evolve and to be like, okay, well, what else can I do? Can I pick up a part-time job walking dogs, delivering groceries? Because I know that, like, if I pick up a part-time job, I'll be able to continue this, but it won't be taking away from this. And then I could do this. And you create this crazy circle until eventually now where it's like, I've been full-time art for the last couple of years. I obviously have my hands in a lot of other pots that align with me, but I think dedicating that time to it is really what it took. And going through the mud of my own personal development to get there. And I felt like that was one of my really successful friends when I was getting into entrepreneurial. And he was like, I see you making he's like, I see you easily being a 7-figure earner one day. And I was so financially insecure at the time that I couldn't even fathom it. I was just so like driven by what I had to do at that moment. And he told me, he goes, the hardest thing about entrepreneurship is you are going to have to conquer all your demons before you conquer all your dreams. And I was just like, shit. Because at that moment, you kind of notice that it stirs the pot and you have a lot more stuff to work on before you could get to that. And I think the biggest thing that I could ever say for anybody that's starting is just like, trust your gut, understand that you could fail 6 times and it's going to be completed the 7th. I probably failed hundreds of thousands of times, but it was the point of knowing that what I needed to be doing was what was in my gut. Like if I was going to work thinking about art all day, it wasn't the job that was keeping me alive. It was the art. So that's my biggest thing, is like embracing failure to evolve through that, and the vulnerability to ask for help if you do, but also just like give yourself some grace because it's hard.
Bro, that's well said, man. I know the feeling, and I'm big on. I didn't even realize failure and loss were like turning points in my life, and now like the only tricky part for me is just when it's happening and I'm failing in the moment is like understanding it's gonna, because I'm like such a fiend to get it back on track. I'm like, yo, what's going on? My machine, it's broke. Like I know I'm gonna get through it, but like it's tricky in the moment, you know. But it's every time I get over that hump, it's like, oh snap, like I just learned this and this, and then you take that to the next round, you take that to the next game, and you're so much wiser. You're like, nah, I'm not going to use this type of ink because it does this, or I'm not going to do this at this degree. And then the next time I go into my game, you know, metaphor, just the next time I work or do something or project, I'm like, okay, I'm going to get insurance for this event. Because the last time this happened there and there was a problem. Now we're prepared, you know. So, and it sucks in the moment having to deal with the bullshit or like the lawsuits or whatever it is that were those lessons or the lost funds. I've felt them all, and I'm sure there's more to come in terms of lessons. There were plenty this past week, but when I leave that lesson, I moved into the game sharper, wiser, stronger. You know, I sound like a Daft Punk song, but you feel it, right? And it's just dope to. And I always try to tell this, Jay, to people. I'm like, bro, like, homie, when things are going wrong, it's not like a video game where you're down to 0 coins and then you just blow up and the game shuts off. Like, you know, as long as we're still breathing, we have a chance to turn it around. And like, it's going to suck in the moment, but it's like when you break through that breaking point is when you have the breakthrough, I always say, you know. And it's powerful, man.
It is. It's powerful, and I've seen you go through it all, and like I've said many times, it's like it's always been inspiring to see, because there's Tony Robbins says this beautiful quote that I love, and it says people are praised in public for what they've practiced for years in private. And it touches me so deeply, because for me, I was coming up through Instagram and Facebook. So I was seeing what everybody was posted, but you don't see what they do in the background. You don't, when I remember years ago, you posted like, all this has been going down from my parents' basement. And I was like, what? Like, and it just, it makes you see things in a new light, but it is. And you are right. This isn't a video game. And I think we do get really stuck sometimes of thinking like, whether it's video games or baseball, like you're down those credits and you're out, 3 strikes and you're out. But there really are an infinite amount of possibilities and the level of growth that comes with that. I hear a lot of mentors talk and they talk about that we mostly fear like our success than we do over our failure. And I think when you start to really like fall in love with failing, and maybe not fall in love because it sucks anyway, but you embrace it because you know it's a cloud that's going to pass and the sun will shine after that. But it's also like we forget that it's almost like I posted something about this the other day. Indiana Jones, when he gets into that, when he's going for the Holy Grail and he gets to that cavern and he's like, I know what I got to do, but I'm not jumping into this because I could die. So it's like your logical brain just totally disconnects from that dream and gut feeling. But then he was like, whatever, I'm going for it, leaped, and it came out. And he made it across that because of that blind faith in his gut of what he knew was going to happen. Was that the last hardship that he entangled with on that embarkment? No, it wasn't. There were many more after that, but it was just that fact of now he was ready for each one after that. And like you said, it's like we fall down and get back up to know how to do it next time. And I think a big thing of like what inhibited me from leaping all those years in the beginning, because like I started art in 2011, but I really didn't give it light and love until about 2015, 16, when it started accepting it. That was me. That was what I create, and started pushing that out more. But I procrastinated on so many things because I thought I had to have every single process set to do it. I thought to vend, I had to have all of this process to get there. And someone told me, they were like, just go and do it. Just get it done and you'll figure it out. Like you figure out what you need after that. And it was like my first vending event ever. I was like ratty sign, barely had a pop-up. I had like a old table, but I made it happen. And I focused so much on what my setup looked like instead of giving the love to my art. But it was like people came and they didn't even see the setup. They were just focused on the art. And then I realized like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to need a light next time, or I'm going to need this, or I need to start doing care sheets because people were like, I wore my necklace in the ocean and it's ruined. I'm like, the ocean. but you learn, and you learn through failure. And I think a thing is we get inundated with this mentality of like good things only come from good things, when there's been so many beautiful things in my life that have come from really bad situations, whether it's been relationships or business or family or whatever it was. It's like you learn how to love differently after things go wrong. You learn how to create differently. You learn how to dress and speak differently in a meeting because that's how you project yourself.
That's real, bro.
And I think I always am gravitated towards people like yourself, and I have a lot of entrepreneur friends these days, and it is because I admire so much the amount of grit and grind and self-work that it's taken to get there. And that's actually like something I'm going to eventually write a book about, because it's like I had zero self-love growing up, and I found that through my creativity and art, but it also hindered me so much trying to create a business because I was focused like on so many other things. But in turn, all the failure made me love myself and appreciate myself so much more, and like growing these businesses and aligning with things that really gravitated towards my life. So I think it's the best thing for personal development that we could have. And granted, not everybody is an entrepreneur or a businessman. It's not for everybody, but I think everyone should give it a try, because even now, look at COVID. I hate the whole COVID situation, but I love it because I've been seeing so many people come out of this with more self-love, or a hobby that they turn into a business because their job shut down. Now they're not going back to their job. They're doing their hobby full time. It's like one of my friends, she always was like a baker doing that stuff. And now she does like these like chocolate breakaway boxes. And she tried it because she was out of work, and she like has been sold out since she started it. And I'm like, I love that. And that's a true thing on a global scale of how wonderful things come from a horrible situation.
That's some real stuff, man. It gave a lot of people time. It's affected so many people so many ways, but it gave people extra time. And it was like, what do you do with this time? And it's like, you could, I went down some negative paths, but I was very fortunate. My fiance, very like a solid rock of my life, and just kept me super solid the whole time. And then right next to that was my purpose. It was just like, oh wait, I got more time now to do the thing that I haven't had as much time with because I was doing all these other things. It gave me that time. And I think I always tell people, treat your love or whatever that thing is or person it is, look at it as a garden, and you'll see if you spend more time on it, you take care of it, you visit it every day, you check in on it, you're going to see growth. You're going to see blossoms. You're going to see roses. You may get pricked a few times from learning and experience and gardening, but you're going to see a difference in your garden. And you could compare that to almost, if it's working out, if it's eating well, if it's your dream, spend more time on it, learn, ask questions, be open to it, and you'll see it grow, and it's just about seeing what those early raps, which I'm very grateful to have, to now the stuff. I just want to bring up a few up on the screen. I know some people are listening. If you're listening, just go to this website. It's J Dritto, Dritto creations.com. But if you're on the video, I'm going to share the screen real quick. I just want to pull up some of these pieces, bro. Boom, you just started off like, hold up. You start with like the Hail Marys, bro. The Empress and Kirby, bro. So you kind of start on like the premiere stage, but like anyone who's looking at this, how for someone like I can't even, how much time does something like this even take? Like Kirby Space, like this looks like a
Kirby Space took about 15 hours.
Wow.
But
let me ask you this now. That it in workmanship, right? But how many hours do you think struggle, blood, sweat, tears, learning, messing up?
I can tell you it's taken me a culmination of 10 years to get to these two pieces.
Yeah.
And to be able to create them in the short time, because the Empress on the left, that only took me 12 hours. I sat down from start to finish. I put all the gems out. I had it drawn out probably a year before that. And then I finally got that center gem. It was like, it's ready to rock. But yeah, and I think that's why it's like, that's what people pay for now. They pay for the 10 years it's taken me to finish that in 15 or 17 hours than it would be in a couple days.
Wow.
And I do everything because like I never want to replace anything. I offer free repairs for like all my jewelry, but I spend the time to build it with intention, because I never want someone to have to give it back. Maybe like if it's an heirloom piece that I want these to be passed on to people. I want someone's grandson or granddaughter or whatever, however they might identify. I want any one of their family members to be able to own one of these. Yeah, I'm actually wearing one of those right now. The left one actually just went to Canada today.
Nice. So a lot of these pieces are one of a kind.
Actually, every piece I've ever made for the last 10 years has been one of a kind. I've never made the same piece twice. And it used to, a lot of people in the art field, they do copies and replicas and the same piece with different stones in it. But I really just gravitate towards what calls to me at that time. Every stone is different, so every stone calls for something else. It's definitely jewelry with intuitiveness to it.
That's amazing, bro.
Yeah, everything's.
Really, you've come it's just so nice to see, bro. And like, bro, I don't do anything for 12 hours straight. I'm lucky I breathe for 12 hours. Like, I get so caught up in my own vibes of just doing stuff. Like, to sit there 12 hours and literally create something one of a kind. Like, bro, this is amazing. So
thank you. I really am wholeheartedly appreciate the love. And obviously, like a lot of those things like the Empress are a lot of collector's pieces. But as you could see on the page, I try and do something a little bit for everybody. I started making jewelry because I couldn't afford it. And then that was another push to where I was like, okay, let me try this. And then I just noticed I had a good flow with it, and I loved the vibe with it, and I just continued. And yeah, this is kind of my going back to like what we were talking about of gift versus the purpose. It's the gift is the art, and it feeds the purpose of my deeper meaning to, like, I consider myself a mindset coach of helping my peers get through the hard times and to push through on all that level of personal development. So I definitely had to separate those two to keep each one. But it's just beautiful how things start to align, and you definitely get scared when you become bigger than what you ever imagined yourself becoming. I mean, I was definitely a hooligan of a kid that ran around and never thought I would even make it to the age where I am now, let alone be pushing for the goals that I'm pushing for now. Trying to start my own coaching business, and to do that and just keep that love flowing.
It's amazing, man. And yeah, and it's really like you're embracing constant evolution, because here you are, reflecting on when you started. There were times where you would reach out for help, and I'm not downplaying anyone that helped you, but a lot of people kept their secrets, which is something that I think it is a normal thing in many crafts, because either I'm guilty of it. I don't tell everyone where I embroider stuff. So because you may want to hire me to do it. There's certain things, but that, you got to protect certain things, but here you are, someone who's embraced failure, someone who's, followed your purpose, going off your gut vibes from the beginning, you're making the dreams a reality. They are now. And now you're like, you know what? I'm not keeping this to myself. I'm going to, if there's someone out there that needs help, my door is open. And here you are, man. And that's really a beautiful thing when you're willing to share, your failures, and also give insight to someone who's on their path. But I think we could all learn from each other in one way. And you're like open door vibes with someone that needs your help. And I think that's a beautiful thing that you want to now do. You're doing the coaching and helping other people with their goals, and you said their mindsets as well.
Yeah, and thank you for that. I really appreciate you, and just grateful for all the kind words wholeheartedly. And don't beat yourself up on not sharing info, because I think a thing about me was like, I knew at the time it was a hit or miss, because like I understood business and I understood that like people don't always give up their secrets because there are other things behind the scenes that people don't know. Like what you said, you don't give away the embroidery because you want to do that yourself, and that's fine. And the cool thing is, about 95% of the artists that have ever said no to me, I still follow dearly. I'm still incredibly inspired by. I never like let that get in the way of the support.
Good.
It just pushed me in other ways, like going into the constant evolution thing. But yeah, I just think that like a lot of people need that extra boost. And I know I try and live with zero expectations of what is, and like let things happen, have my goals. But I also don't like expect everyone to help everyone, which isn't the thing. Like people have to protect some things. But for me, if I could do it, then that's what I want to do. And like, I try not to look back because I don't resent anything, but I look back and I'm like, damn, well, if 2011, someone would have showed me this trick, I could have been like surpassed where I am now. And I really try not to think like that because it could be a dark tunnel to go down. But I allow it to push myself in a mindset to where it's like, well, I'm in a position where I could help. I'm in a position where I could share information. I mean, I have a hard enough time making two of the same pieces. If you want to know how to make it, by all means, if you can make the same one, like go right ahead. Power to you. So I think that just falls into like, you know, everybody has their role in the hive. And I just think that one of mine is being able to share the info that I've had and that I've gained, because a lot of it is unshared info. A lot of it is just sitting crying in my apartment depressed because nothing's going right. And how did I get out of that? And then I see so many people going through that, especially in these times of where it's like, yes, it was beautiful to have the time to do everything, but there's also the flip side of like a lot of this COVID time really put people in a dark spot. I mean, it put me in a dark spot. And I just want to be able to help people in that realm, especially with like, I traveled years ago and I was backpacking through like Costa Rica and Panama, and I met this woman who then later connected with me on like one of the hardest times in my life. And she was able to help me with my mindset I essentially was studying Buddhism with her. And that helped me unlock a lot of things of understanding that like, I have a voice, I have a perspective, and that perspective is best shared than it would be keeping it for myself. So I'm in the works of writing a couple books and to get that going and to put that information in the world. But I also am proud of myself because within the jewelry community, I am also known as someone where you could slide into my DMs at any time with any questions. Will I get back to you in that instant? Probably not, because I'll probably be doing something else and I have no notifications on my phone. But when I get to it, I'm more happy to share that information. And I think it's huge because for me, it changed my life. It changed my life I couldn't picture living any other life than the one I'm living now. And that dream is such a gift that I want to be able to gift that perspective to other people. So yeah, I self-labeled myself as a mindset coach because I've been doing it for friends and family for a long time. And now, like I said, starting to create a coaching business around it to where I can serve my people. I guess it's like, I love being in service. It's like you know, bringing that Don't Stop Dreaming and those bookmarks. I still got many books with those, the shirts, the hats. Like it's such a powerful message.
Wow. It means a lot, man.
And to be able to do that, it is. And it's like, even if you don't do it vocally, handing out one of those pieces of paper to anyone, like I always see it at times when I like crack a book when I need to at that time and it's there and I'm just like, okay. So it's like we all do our service in different ways. It's not so linear as to like coaching or something like that. I think everybody does their act of service. We just have to acknowledge that it doesn't always look the same.
That's amazing, bro. That's amazing. And it's just so cool. It's crazy because it got me reflecting on what I've been. It's so crazy because I've been on this lately. This is a challenge. I call it do something, say nothing, right? And do something really awesome for someone, and don't say anything about it. And I'm not. It's not like I follow this completely. A lot of the time, I do something awesome and I'll post about it right away, or I got to share the new creation. I'm talking more like in a day-to-day vibe. Like if you give someone $100, like does everyone on Facebook need to know about that? Do it because you felt it, and then say nothing. And then that, I feel like it's such a test because it's like, did you do it to then talk about it and then get the recognition, or did you just do it? And I've learned this from my mom, bro. Like she is not against social media, but she doesn't post anything, bro. And if she spent all the time talking about all the kind things that she just did, she wouldn't have time to do any of the kind things she's doing. She was spending time talking about the things she just did. She would do less and less kind things. So like you just got me reflecting on that, and that's what this year has been all about, bro. Like we drop stuff, we release it, which is fine, but I'm like, let me do some dope shit and it'll pop up somewhere when it's right, and let it pop up in my heart, and it's tough. It's a challenge, and I'm guilty of not always fulfilling it, but a lot of the stuff you're saying, bro, really got me thinking about that. And it's just really cool that you I think it's dope because you felt the struggle, and now when you see someone going through maybe their own struggle, it may not be identical to yours, but you remember the feeling of the struggle and you even still go through it now. You're like, you know what? You're not alone. I'm on your side. And this is kind of how I got through it. Take some of my lessons and apply it to you, or I'm just here for you. And I think just being there for people, bro, is like the true currency in this world. And just having someone there, and like you're rich in ways that money cannot define when you have someone there for you to listen to you, even if it's, bro, people think I'm super positive. My lady, she sees me complain, she sees me probably at my worst or me trying to get back to my best. So I give her nothing but love, and I wanted to shout out everyone there that's there for somebody. And shout out to you for being there for people and keeping an open door policy to creatives and just people in general, bro. So I applaud you, and I applaud everyone out there that's been there for someone and doesn't post about it after, and they're there for that reason. Much love to all you. And even if you post about it, I think it's dope to talk about it too, because it also encourages someone, oh wait, I'm not there for people. So it could go multiple ways. So no guilt of anyone that talks about any success, but I think it's a test to yourself to do some dope shit and just let it be in your memory, and yeah, man, you got me digging deep, man.
No, that actually makes the volleyball of deepness right here, because I always I always feel for people like servers, especially, who just get shafted in that industry. I have a lot of friends, they love it. I was a chef for 15 years, so I understand the type of stuff that goes on in that service industry. But for me, and yes, double shout out to everyone that's doing that. And no one's perfect. We all have to play the game of being relevant on social media. It's like if you post one thing out of the 5 things that you do, you're good. If you post one thing out of the 3 things you do, you're good. Like you're fine, and like don't overthink it. Just keep being beautiful. Keep loving the world and putting that out there, because it is powerful. Love is powerful, and a lot of people crack that, but it really is one of the most powerful things ever. And it's funny because as someone who's so positive as myself, back in 2017 or 2016, 17, when I was like full-time art, went through a horrible breakup and was living out of my car and didn't want to give up. And I lived out of my car for like 8 months, but I was still just like being positive, like ramming it down the throat to like essentially keep myself positive. And people would hit me up and be like, yo, you're so positive. I love you. Like, you're killing it, living the dream of like, I'm living out a '01 Subaru Forester in the park right now. But your thing made me think about how I don't really go out to eat too often. I love family meals. I do that. But when I do go out to eat, I tip really well. Like, and it's just the fact of me to where it's like, I don't eat out often enough that when I go out, it's extraordinary. And I want to be just like thankful and spread that love. So we went out for my partner's birthday. She's just an amazing woman. We went out, had like some tapas and some wine, and the waitress brought over like cake and stuff because it was her birthday. Like, no one said that. And even before she did that, but it was like the bill was $111. I tipped $60. And then it was like we went out to breakfast the next day, and the other girl was just like killing it, but her boss was a dick. And like she was just such a light soul. Like, she didn't let that get to her, and she was just like there killing it, being nice to the people. And I think my bill was $40. I tipped 20 on it. And it's just something to where like I wanted to go on social media and be like, this is how you're supposed to do it. But I also like felt so adverse to doing that. And I was like, it'll come up at another time. And then here we are.
Wow. It's tricky, right? It that finding that balance. But that's it. I think that just seems like the theme of your life, bro. Like you know, you've been through some shit, and then you're understanding when you see someone going through it, and you have the compassion and the love for them, and you're like, you know, and it's just, and your kindness, bro, just shines through, and that's a blessing, bro. I hope I'm sure your partner had a lovely birthday. I wish her nothing but the best.
She did. Thank you. It was a beautiful time, well spent. And I think it was, like for me, I would consider myself a spiritually intuitive person. I don't think I ever really was that. I think I was that growing up, but I didn't ever like grow into it. 'Cause just like, spirituality in New York was just buku, you know, you needed a therapist if you were seeing things in your dreams and having these other feelings. But I also think like through art and through all of that, it taught me a deeper level of compassion and self-love, and it taught me to go deeper onto intuition. But once you start seeing that, like every hardship I've ever happened, and this is coming from someone who couldn't picture not being alive, and I used to not want to be alive. I used to definitely have bad days to where I was like, maybe I just should end it all and go in my separate route. But I always just knew that there was like this gut feeling in me that like whenever I wanted to act on that, I just knew that there was going to be so much more to my life. And I was like, I would almost like get into this internal battle of like, now I'm not strong enough to even do what I want to because I'm going to try and like follow this gut feeling. And then like now when I look back on all those gut feelings and I have like the intuitive side of looking at things, now I could see that like every time the road forked and I went towards my gut, it worked out in the way that it should have. And now it gave me the perspective to be able to see the world as I see it. And a lot of times when I was living out of being vulnerable and living out of my gut feeling, like I was at the point to where I was like testing my gut feeling. I was like, I'd go down the road. I could like go down the street or do something. And true story, I'd be going down the street, random person. I was just like, oh, hey, hope you have a beautiful day. Like 6 months later, I saw them at an event and they were just like, yo, you were that dude. Like, I was having the worst day of my life and you just like stopped me out of nowhere and said that. And you made me like, and he was just like, and then after hearing that and and like challenging those gut feelings even more and going and doing things. That's how I found that woman that essentially like brought me to my like spiritual strength and what I would consider that. She was teaching a yoga class, and I was like, man, I got to catch this bus, but like I really feel like I should talk to this person. And she wound up pretty much saving my life, especially while I was out in Colorado. And it taught me a lot about how to be vulnerable, we get so stuck in like, this is what we are, we can't change. But I'm 34, and if I want to learn a new language, I'll learn it in 6 months because I want to, and because I know we're plastic and we could learn that. And all you got to do is dedicate the time. But I think we get so stuck in like that we can evolve, but we truly can. Like, it's crazy how like society has grown to what it was, and we've grown to disbelief in ourselves and like what we are. Like, we're humans. We grew to be the top of the food chain to evolve these magical brains. And why do we not think we could do whatever the hell we want? And that was like what was funny to me one day, and I started testing it. And then over the years of me testing this, it just led me to where I am now of understanding that no one's going to call me a loser if I ask for help. The only person who's doing that is myself, because I have this ego of to where I need to like get it done and this and that. But it's like, it didn't get me anywhere except hardships, and it made me fail even more not asking for help. And then it just brings me into like the vulnerability side of things. And then you constantly evolve. And once it's like Bruce Lee said, he goes, he goes, be more like water, like flow. Yep. Don't be the rock in the river, be the water and flow through that. And I think before I just started to embrace these things of being like, flow with it. And I kept saying to myself, what's the worst I could lose? What's the worst I could lose? If I'm having a great day, what's going to happen? I have a bad day. I have this. It's like, well, if I have a bad day, how can I change that? And I don't think we have that internal dialect enough. Even now, as an entrepreneur, like some of my goals right now is I'm pushing to make 7 figures in the next 5 years. And I am very far away from that. I'm completely transparent about that. But I know the more I grow into it and keep allowing myself to evolve and ask myself the tough questions of, when I hit a wall, why am I getting frustrated at hitting this wall? Well, it's because I have this insecurity of failure. Well, why do I have this insecurity of failure? Well, I've been hurt before in the past, or I've failed before in the past. And then it's just like, we don't have that internal dialect and like sit down and clear our brains. And it's not about meditation. It's not about like giving yourself that time. I mean, meditation and giving yourself time is beautiful. It allows yourself. It's just gaining a relationship back with yourself, instead of, in the quickest example of like a relationship with yourself is doing something special for someone and not telling anybody. A relationship with the outside world is doing something for someone else and like telling someone else for that validation. But it's like, at what point in life do we start giving ourselves the validation? Like, we need to gas ourselves up. And I feel like a lot of times when we talk about like, oh, I'm going to pour some gas on the fire, we look at it in such a bad mental state to where it's like, we're like going to burn something down. But why wouldn't it be to like burn something up? Like, let's turn this on fire. Like if anybody's going to pour gas on myself, it's going to have to be me. And I want to do this. And then in turn, I'm just like, every friend I have, I'm like, let me pour a little gas on your fire. Let me do this, or let me just do this. And I think once we evolve into that space of like speaking to ourselves better, treating ourselves better, that just comes naturally to reflect to people. And a big thing is, I still go through a lot of insecurities. We do. As we evolve, more things come on and more things go. But a thing I really embodied these days is, if someone's ever looking for advice or even doesn't want advice and just like comes to me and it's just like, I see a long message in my inbox of just like, this is the shit I'm going through. And I tell everybody, like, if you ever want to vent void of response, just send it to my inbox and just tell me, like, I'm not looking for a response. I just need to get this out. And it goes in there. But I'll always respond and be like, do you want advice or do you want consolidation? Like, do you want me to console you, do that. And some people are like, I just want to be consoled. And you're like, cool, you know, come here, let me give you a virtual hug or whatever. And other people who want advice, I just apply some of my perspectives to that. And I think that's what makes it relatable. But I also think that's what keeps so many people from doing acts of service, because we feel like we are pushing our opinions onto someone else. But really, at least for me, when I was going through the thick of it in my entrepreneur stuff, and I was like working day in, day out, not going to any concerts, nothing, not doing anything, not hanging out with friends. And I got the knock on the door from my friend, and he was like, you're coming outside of your house today. And I was like, nah, man, I got to work. And he's like, I know what you're doing. He's like, you're sitting on the couch depressed for half the day and pushing yourself to grind into oblivion in the other half. And he's like, it's not healthy. Let's just go for a drive. And he just really laid it on real and was like, you know, entrepreneurship is an endurance race. If we look at everyone, look at Sam Walton, you know, Walmart guy. He didn't make it till he was 40. Look at Mark Cuban, another guy. He was bartending at 35. Like there is no age limit that you need to get it. You just need to understand that you need to dedicate 5 to 7 years of your life to the grind, and a healthy grind. Understanding it's an endurance race. It's not a sprint. You need to, which is why I project a lot of personal development, because I had a lot of businesses. I started a saltwater tank business. I was a private chef. I had a t-shirt company. I had a skateboard events company. I had all these things, but they never went into fruition because I never personally developed myself to a level that would allow myself to take on that task. And for me, that's all I really try and project to everybody is they're like, well, I want this. And it's like, well, this is kind of what you want to look at before, like a precursor to that. And they're like, well, that has nothing to do with my dream. It's like, but it will. And you will see why. Because like, if you can't have those internal conversations with yourself, and if you can't embrace failure, if you can't evolve through all these times, then everything will fail. And you'll go and try and get a business interview, and you'll try and go get an investor, and they'll say no. And you'll be like, well, I'm trash. That's over. And like, it just builds that confidence to where it is. And we all hold it in different forms. Like that's the thing is we have to understand that like your journey is way different than my journey, but it is so relatable.
Real talk.
Like if you look at them side by side, they're two different pictures, but there's so much similarity. It's like that same, but different.
Real talk. I agree, bro.
It's tough, and man, I've seen you evolve through it. I've seen you go through it. I've heard, you know, when I do my check-ins with people, I'm just like, how you doing and all that stuff. And I just send that love to you, and I commend you because like you're doing it. You're living it. You're constantly evolving. I just love seeing where everything is going, the umbrellas of what stereotype has become, and now it's like we're sitting on the radio show, like huge props, you know. It's like huge props.
To me, bro, it's a blessing. It really is, and I'm fortunate. I grew up in a home that gave me an advantage in life, but the advantage and privilege that I had, I spent a lot of time doing lots of work that was unpaid out of love and support of others. And I'm grateful that finally, after 13 years, I could finally write myself a check. And like, I'm being honest, it's after 13 years.
Yeah.
I'm now writing myself the biggest checks as opposed to my clients or schools that I work for and stuff. But the key word, 13 years. And
yeah.
It was never like that. It was literally 13 years of just getting there, having an office, just getting it, but not. And I always made it through. I always found other ways to make it work and thrive with other businesses or hustles. And bro, it's right now it's like, oh snap, like to be able to see your garden this way, and it's like, oh wow, like now I got to take time to smell the roses, as they say, right? Like take some time to smell the flowers of the garden that you created. And you were talking about that, like take time and, you know, and I'm big on like treating myself. And it's as simple as going out getting an ice cream, you know, making myself a pair of socks. Like I make socks on the daily basis, bro, and I may only give myself a pair of socks like once a month in terms of like a fresh pair that I made or a shirt that I made, even though I make those 9 hours a day. But I definitely agree, bro. It's a blessing now to just be like, to come home at 6, eat dinner with your family, and not feel so overwhelmed that you're trying to catch up because you got so much shit done compressed in like a 10-hour day to start it, and you had to get, and like I'm blessed that I have to wake up and there's just so much to do, and there's, when I leave there's still so much more to do. And like to me, bro, like it's the way I dreamed it to be. Like like I literally go to the post office almost every other day with like 4 IKEA bags full of stuff, and I'm like, what is going on? And I'm like, oh wow, this is becoming the day-to-day thing, and this is what I dreamed of. But it's so much work, like busting ass, sweating all day, making stuff and designing and dealing with other humans to get goals accomplished and products released. But it's such a blessing. So I'm grateful. Thank you for showing me some love, and it's grateful. It's so cool because once you get going and you hit kind of a new step, it's like you're almost starting over. But now you're like the big uncle instead of
Yeah.
the kid, you know? Like now I kind of have the uncle level in me. Like maybe I'm not the dad or the grandpa yet, but like I feel like the cool uncle where now I could help the kid in me to, maybe I hook myself up with this, or like, oh, now we could get the big machine or the big printer, young Dave, let's go make it. You know what I mean? You become your big uncle, your big aunt, or whatever pronoun is appropriate for the person. But that's how I feel now with me. Like I'm like my big uncle, but now I got the kid in me still that I never wanted to let die. But now I got the cool uncle with a little bit of money to be able to fund a little bit, and I'm still very small fish, but I'm very grateful to be able to buy lots of new equipment, and it enhances your creativity when you have less limits, you
Yeah.
know, and just spending time learning. And it's, oh man, it's just such a blessing thinking about it and being like, oh wow, this is the day to day now. And I'm looking forward to the next chapter, bro. And you know, it's grateful we're talking about all this, and I can't wait to see where everything goes with your coaching, because you know you seem like you're on fire when you said, as you said, the gas, bro. Like you seem like, you know, I feel it from you. So I'm excited to hear how you sharing it with others really helps, and I know it's going to.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. And it's I relate to that. It is like you level up and you become like a better version of yourself, and then like you look at like your little kid version, and you're like, and I have that, like me and my girl, we go do like milkshake Mondays, and that's like a way to just like start off the week with like something sweet, get the fix in, and just know that like it's gonna be a busy one of getting it through, but it's also necessary to do that. And I think that's the hardest thing to imagine, is because when we start off these endeavors, we are that little kid that's learning and that's stumbling, and we're learning how to tie our shoes, and that shit gets annoying and we want to give up. But then we evolve, and it's hard for us to see that we're going to be an uncle when we're a little kid. It's hard for like when I was a little kid, I couldn't imagine what life would be like at 35, and now I'm just like, I couldn't imagine what life would be like at 40. Or like you start to see things a little more and a little deeper. And I think as you evolve into these spaces, it's like a self-actualizing moment, to where when we could see that split, we could be like, oh, like that was my level up. And now I'm this person, but I could also be these people. And then you get to dad level, and you're just like toting all the kids around in the minivan, just ready to get stuff done. But also keeping that childish play is necessary. And I think it's something, going back to like how we focus and we get ourselves nurtured by a lot of the things, like our nature gets nurtured by a lot of this social media stuff. When we see people, like I look up to people like, Grant Cardone and Dean Graziosi and all these people that are like flying around in jets. And obviously it's like, it's easy to pay attention to the jets, but it's hard to listen to when they're like, yeah, I've been doing this for 15 years. I've been doing this for 20 years. And I was broke for 15 or 20 of them. But people just focus on the jet. And I think when we start to level up and we start, like, I feel like I relate with the cool uncle vibe. I relate with that cool uncle vibe. And I'm still trying to like nurture my child side of things so that it keeps the playfulness alive. Because when we just become like a wheelchair-bound grandpa, like I still want to have my grandkid version of myself to have fun with. I don't ever want it to just be like bitter. And I think we become bitter as we don't embrace it all. And as we think we are just like going back to how we're humans and we are the most powerful beings. I mean, if you believe I believe in aliens, so like that too, but like, we are these powerful multi-dimensional beings that can do so many things, and we can be more things. And it's like, I could go to a water park with my nephew's side in the daytime, but then I could come back and crush work till 10:30 at night with my uncle's side, and just know that there has to be that balance. But then again, it's like every grind is different for everybody. It's all the same in the sense of like how we push through, how we look at things, how we go and like focus more on the future. But I think it's pretty linear when like we have to have fun. If you're not having fun doing it and you're not embracing the journey and you're not just like respecting the process, then you're going to give up. I mean, at least I know I would. There was a lot of fun things that I did. Like when I was throwing skateboarding events and getting all these little kids hyped, I just like, it became a business over having fun. And then I just stopped it. Cause like, you have to have fun. Life's too short to not love what you're doing intensely. And the thing is, you have to fall in love with what you're doing and not what you're getting from what you're doing. Like for me, it's like, I know I'm going to be very, like, I know that my coaching and my jewelry is going to allow me to hit the financial goals that I've ever wanted to hit in my life. But I'm not focusing on that. Like I make jewelry and I put the tag on it, but I'm not I'm not like hoping it sells in a week. Like if it sits for a year, it sits for a year. But I know that who's ever going to get it is going to feel that love. And I put so much love into it. And it's that love that builds the longevity out of everything that we're doing. Because I'll tell you what, it's like, yeah, people always say like, oh, money doesn't buy happiness. And then you always see the comment of someone like, well, Ferrari's pretty cool. It's like, but is it going to be pretty cool when you're just listening to like the same soundtrack on that same lonely ass road all the time? It's like a Ferrari doesn't seem that cool to me anymore when I'm not doing what I love. And that's the hardest thing, because what we love to do doesn't always fill our pockets. But like what you said, it's like I feel like I'm already a billionaire because of the love that I create around me and the love that I receive from others, and that synergetic value of energy. I already feel like I am incredibly wealthy. Bank account, not so much. We're still building there, but the less I and to just sidebar, when I was in about 2018 with my art, I stopped focusing completely on money. And the moment that I stopped focusing completely on sales is the moment I started to sell more jewelry than I ever sold in my life. And it was that. It's like I wasn't sitting at the bench thinking about who's going to buy it. I was sitting at the bench thinking like, this is beautiful. Someone's going to love it. Like I love it.
You were tapped
And
into your purpose, and you were doing
yeah,
what felt was right, and then that projected to results because you bottled the love up. And I think that's what people felt. It wasn't like, oh well, I'm gonna do this because Lokai is doing, like that brand that does they're very popular. Like, oh, Lokai's doing it, I'll do the white and black stone because it's where, like, you're like now you're like, no, I'm gonna tap into my love. I'm gonna tap into the things that really matter. I'm gonna And of course, you wanted to probably succeed with the money. Of course, we need it to a certain degree, but I think it's so important the way you just explained, bro. You tapped into what was the right product to make, that mattered to you and to share that. That's beautiful, bro. So you did better.
yeah,
You
because
said that's a real fact.
yeah, I did better because I was spending less time trying to figure out what I wanted to create because like what was trendy or what was on the market, and I was just creating what I wanted to. And I felt like when I was fighting that, I was just trying to create things that were like I literally was thinking, I'd be like, oh, well, I'll create this and this will be in like the $80 range or it'll be in this. And like once you start focusing on the end goal, you stop falling in love with the process. And once you fall in love with the process and fall in love with the journey, like you will exceed all expectations that you ever had about what your life could be. And this is in business, this is in creation, this is in relationships. Once you stop focusing on the goal, it's like meeting a girl and trying to figure out everything that you need to because you want to marry her instead of like just enjoying it and understanding like, yeah, you figured out all these things that are compatible, but can you hang out with her for a day? Like, can you go travel the world with this person? And for me on the jewelry side of it, it was like I was becoming so hyper focal about selling pieces that I wasn't making original work towards me and I wasn't happy with what I was putting out. So when I just cut that out and was like, I'm just going to make whatever I wanted to make, whether it was funky and outside of the norm of what people normally wear, people would be like, oh, that's cool. I like that. Like, how much is that? And I just started to notice that. And especially it was one of the first events I did here in New York. I was coming back and it was in like 2016 or that range. And I came back here after a bad breakup and I was just trying to get my stuff together. And my mom was like, well, there's like a craft show here in town. If you want, like, I'll pay for the booth is like $70. I'll pay for the booth and I'll just get that. Like, whatever, you'll just do that. And I was like, okay. So I went and did that. And I made a bunch of pieces that I thought people would sell. And I didn't even like them. So I had to scrap it. And I was like, well, I don't even have enough wire and gems to like make the stuff that I would be if I was doing that. So let me just make what I want to make. And I sold 40. I made 40 pieces and I sold all 40. And that was just like, wow. Because people were like, oh, I love this. I love like the energy that comes with this, or just like you could tell there was like love in it. And whether you believe in energetics and metaphysics in any way, it's like we are energy. We are, and no matter what, if you put that passion out there, now transferring it from art to business, I've gone into so many interviews and so many investor meetings where I went and tried to just spew what I thought the person would want to spew, and I got shot down. Now, I went into those similar types of meetings with just my passion, very underrated in what I had to bring to the table. I felt like I was underskilled for the program. I felt like I just wasn't the person who would have gotten that. But it was my passion that sold to get that position. And it was like even when I was coaching snowboarding and I became a director for one of these programs. It's called SOS Outreach, where we take kids from schools, we bring them up to the mountain and we teach them life skills through snowboarding. And I had no previous experience for any of that. But when I applied for it, my head coach was like, oh, I think you would be good for that. Like, and I'm like, I've never looked after kids. I've never done this. And he was like, just go talk to them. You'll be fine. He's like, I already set you up the interview. Just go do that. And I did. And they gave me the director position. And I was the director for Breckenridge for that program. And those kids, I had a 95% success rate with those kids of graduating. And it's because they just love the passion that I brought with it. So it's like, I got the position because they loved the passion. So I brought the passion to the kids, and those kids broke through their fears. They did what they had to do, and they went out there and they made it happen. And they were like so many kids after that were just like, I would have never in my life thought I'd go snowboarding. And then Here you are, and you like made it happen. And it's just like, oh, and that was the year I got that whole band of bracelets from you, and we gave them all the Don't Stop Dreaming bracelets. So yeah, so it comes full circle again.
Wow, it's beautiful, bro. Passion that's my next tattoo, actually. To be honest, I'm getting it in my father's handwriting. I got
Nice.
love in my mom's, and passion is what I've learned from my father. And you said it, and that's just so real, man, and it's true. And it's just amazing that you're doing that. You're literally bottling up love and sharing it on a daily. So it's just so dope to see, man. And that's just proof right there. Maybe you didn't have the most experience, but you loved it so much and you were so passionate. It showed through, and it was the person hiring was like, yo, he's the one, and then look, he proved it. So he did his job right, and you did yours, and it was just, that's beautiful, man. It's cool that it's just the recurring theme that I keep seeing is just you constantly sharing love with others and it being effective in a great way.
Yeah, that's why it's like a lot of people trash, when they say like love is the power and love is everything. But it really is. And if you just go in there with that passion, it's just something else. And I think passion always wins. So that's like my ode to what I tell everybody. It's like, who cares if you're not a writer? Who cares if your resume doesn't look right for the job? Who cares if you think that person will never be affectionate towards you? Like Wayne Gretzky said it, you'll miss every shot you never take. And what's the worst that happens? They say no, and you respectfully say, okay, thank you, and you walk on. But I could guarantee that most of the times that passion is going to push you forward. And even if it doesn't land you that gig or the book or whatever it is, you at least tried. And that starts talking about pouring gas on yourself. That starts a fire in yourself to where once you start having this internal dialect and you start talking to yourself in these ways of well, how did this happen? How did this go? Then you start to understand that like it's all good in one way or the other. And I think once we let go of the expectation of like how an event is supposed to go, we start to see more of the good things that come up in the muddy water. And there's a lot of big fish in the muddy water. I could tell you that. We just got to throw the lure in there and go fishing, What if we're not going to catch nothing if we don't cast out there? And that's pretty much
that's
what
fire,
we
bro.
keep doing.
That made me want to bring this up. I just want to share you the stats of a baseball player that has the most hits of all time. So hold on. But we were talking so much about like failure, striking out, missing. Of course, this is someone that's seen a lot of success, right? They have the gift that we talked about. But I want you to see how many times this person got up at bat. Of course, they've had more hits than most people. It's going to look rather impressive. But you're going to see how many times. Let's check this out. Bring this up. So I'm sure. I'm a basketball kind of guy, but like baseball metaphors, I feel like apply very well with. So there's this guy named Pete Rose. I'm sure you may have heard of him. So he started his career in 63. He went for 24 years So for anyone out there that's like attempting a goal or a dream, I just want you to look at how many times this guy was at bat. So that's every time you step up to the plate and you try to get something going, whether a home run, a hit, get on base. So this guy was on bat on average 630 times, 39 times a year. So he had a lot of attempts, right? And we're not counting all the times he was practicing, all the times he was at the gym. So he was at bat in his whole career 14,053 times. So imagine you attempt anything that, even half of that. And let's see, he had a rather successful career because we're looking at someone with the most hits. He got 4,000 hits, 4,200 hits. So I just wanted to bring that up just in terms of level of attempts. You know, we don't have to highlight this, but I want to highlight the at-bats. So anyone out there that feels, don't feel overwhelmed by the fact that you haven't been at bat that many times in whatever you're doing. But look at the effort, you know, and I think, and it's just blessing because you could clearly see that he loved what he did and the passion was there. Why else would he do something for so long and dedicate his life to it? But look at this, 14,000 attempts. And that's not counting all the practice, all the things you, as Tom was saying, all the stuff you don't see before you get to the game. And the boy, he had quite a career. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. We were talking earlier, and I was like, let me pull up this guy's stats just in terms of attempting the thing you love and going for it and trying and seeing how many little things go into the bigger thing. And I thought Pete Rose was a great person.
Yeah, that was I didn't know those stats, and it's just who was it? It's like, so I'm big into network marketing as well. So it's another thing to where I think it was Eric Worre. He talks about, he's like, it's just about doing a lot of little things consecutively over a long period of time. And it doesn't necessarily have to be something that is grand. You don't have to do a million things every single day. It just is, even if you step an inch forward every day, you're still doing it. And you'll see that every day that compounds into a positive compounding effect. We just hyper-focus. We hyper-focus on wanting the Lamborghini before we build a business that could get that. We hyper-focus on like for me, it's like, I want to buy a house in Costa Rica. How am I going to do that? I know I need this many years before that to continue doing that. So it's just a point of continuously going forward throughout all odds and knowing. But the big question is, it's like, when you fail, you have to ask yourself, is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? Is this what I want to dedicate 7 of my years to, 14 of my years to, 20? Can I see myself doing this forever? And if it's no, then it's like, what are you trying to do it for? Are you just trying to do that job to make money? It's always a process, but you gotta have that internal dialect with yourself to understand if it's really going to work out or not.
And keep swinging, right? Keep getting that bat, because
keep swinging. Pete Rose killing it.
You're not. Of course, I probably showed someone that's one of the GOATs of all time. So, reaching that pinnacle, but as you said, several inches, many attempts a day. Like, if you're selling something and you don't call anyone today, or help anyone, or even offer free packs to people, or whatever it is that people, why not? But think about it. What if you offered 10 free packs to someone, or sample packs? Even 2 sample packs a week or a day, that's 14 people a week. 14 times 50. is 450. Imagine what could that turn into once they get a taste of what you have to offer them. So,
Yeah.
but think about that in a small scale. Two people a day, what are you doing with the rest of the day? You should have more time. So what if you reached out to 15 people a day? 15 times 7, 95. 95 times 50, 4,500. Imagine if
That's
you
a
take
lot.
4,500 attempts of something in a year.
Yeah.
You may take off for Hanukkah or Christmas or whatever. You need some days off too. So maybe we're down to 3,500. You take 3,500 attempts of anything in a year. Check back in with me and let me know how your year goes. Anyone
Yeah.
out there, I'm very confident you're gonna learn something, even if you don't sell anything. And everything you learn, you're gonna turn that into something. Either you've moved on because you learned it wasn't for you, or you've figured a lot of shit out to get to the next step. So I
Yeah.
challenge anyone out there, get at bat, and the thing you're passionate about. You can learn a lot from my friend here. I'm grateful, bro, to just see your growth in just 8 years of friendship. I can't. We got to do another interview in what is this? 22. We'll do one before 2028, but we got to do an 8-year check-in. I'm gonna put it in my
I'm
calendar
with it.
right now. Check in with Jon Dritto on what day is this? August 24th. Wow, this is like Kobe Day, bro. 8/24 and then 28. There were a lot of 8s in here, but we got to check in, bro, and we'll see each other, of course, before, but let's check
Yeah.
back in 8 years and play this back and then see what. I'm gonna put
I
this in my
love it.
calendar right now, bro.
I love it. I'm gonna put it in mine too, and we'll do it. We'll do this. Accountability is another thing. Get friends that have accountability. Get friends that tell you okay when you say I'm not coming out to party because they know you're grinding. Like those are the people you need. But I'll definitely be down on the island. I'll come down. Me and the lady will come down and we'll have a good time. We'll come out to dinner with you guys.
I just gotta check if I'm booked, bro. I'm pretty sure I'm open. It's the first thing I'm booking in the year 2028. I'm grateful
Love
that
it.
I'd be honored to still be here.
You're still gonna be here.
I
Maybe I'll be coming down to the actual radio studio at that point.
oh, cool. That's the day before my lady's grandma's birthday too, so it'll be a good week.
Nice.
But that's dope, man, bro. This convo, we should probably do one. I should probably do one every week because it was very healing for me just to hear you, and I'm really proud of everything you've done. I really look forward to seeing everything you got going on.
Thank you. I would love to do it every week, even just to catch up. It's good to be back out on the East Coast. It's good to be back out here. Again, I am humbly honored to be here. Humbly honored that you took the time, you created this space, and I thank you for that. I am always inspired by you. It's been a long run, and I think the more we keep friends like each other around, it just pushes life forward. And I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for all the things you've accomplished and that you continue to put out in the world, all the people that you help on your endeavors. And yeah, I'm always happy to be here. I'm always happy to chat. But again, thank you again. I'm just grateful to be here.
Of course, man. You're always welcome back. And remember, everyone, make sure to support my friend. I'm going to bring up his site once again on the screen. If you're on audio, it's jdrittocreations.com. And these are one-of-a-kind pieces. And then I believe the social media is at the bottom right here.
Yeah, social media for all the jewelry stuff should be there. Yep. And then if you wanted to follow along for the coaching stuff, that is on Instagram at Upward and Beyond.
Here we go.
And that's where I have all my inspiring posts. That's where I'll be posting all of my episodes that I'm going to start doing every Monday. Every Monday I'm doing a Monday motivation, just to keep the mindset ready for everyone for the week, talking about topics that I think will help everybody push through whatever they're going through. So yeah, I'm just grateful for anybody that wants to follow the journey. As you might have heard tuning in, my messages are always open. So chime in on any one of those, and I'm always happy to chat and connect. But yeah, just out here spreading the love and trying to just reach as many people as I can.
Bro, wonderful work, man. I'm looking forward to seeing the journey unfold. You're always welcome back. Once again, happy birthday to your lady. And I can't wait to see what else you wrap up next, man. You got a lot. I'm just grateful to see everything, and it's dope to be friends for this amount of time. I look forward to celebrating our 16th year of friendship in 8 years.
Yes, same here. Just blessed. I'm just filled with so many blessings for friendships like these, for interactions like these, and again, I'm looking forward to all the get ups and all the get downs, and I'm just happy to continue pouring gas on your fire over there and send you love. And yeah, thank you again, and looking forward to all the next times.